Science, for all its advancements, can be surprisingly resistant to change. The scientific community, often lauded for its objectivity, is not immune to the allure of the familiar. Scientists are human, and like all humans, they can be hesitant to abandon long-held beliefs, even when confronted with compelling evidence to the contrary. This conservative tendency stems from a deep-seated desire for order and predictability. Scientific theories, once established, provide a framework for understanding the world. They offer a sense of certainty in a universe that can often seem chaotic and unpredictable. However, this inherent conservatism can hinder scientific progress. Anomalies, those pesky observations that defy conventional wisdom, often get swept under the rug. They challenge the status quo, threatening to disrupt the established order. Scientists, invested in their theories and reputations, may be reluctant to acknowledge these anomalies, fearing the uncertainty they represent. This resistance to change is not necessarily a sign of intellectual dishonesty. It is a natural human response to the unknown. Scientists, like everyone else, seek comfort in the familiar. They are drawn to explanations that confirm their existing worldview. But science at its core is about exploration and discovery. It thrives on questioning assumptions, pushing boundaries, and venturing into uncharted territory. To embrace the true spirit of scientific inquiry, we must be willing to confront the anomalies, to challenge our cherished beliefs, and to accept that our understanding of the universe is constantly evolving. Paradigms, those overarching frameworks that shape our understanding of the world, exert a powerful influence on scientific thought. They act as intellectual lenses, filtering our perceptions and shaping our interpretations of reality. While paradigms are essential for scientific progress, providing a common ground for research and collaboration, they can also become ideological straitjackets. When a particular paradigm becomes deeply entrenched, it can stifle innovation and blind us to alternative perspectives. We become so accustomed to viewing the world through a particular lens that we fail to recognize its limitations. Emotional attachments and intellectual commitments can further solidify these paradigms. Scientists often devote their careers, even their lives, to developing and defending particular theories. They build their reputations, their legacies, on the validity of these ideas. To challenge a dominant paradigm is not merely to question a scientific theory. It is to question the very foundation upon which their work is built. It is to challenge their identity as scientists. This is not to say that paradigms are inherently bad, but it does mean that we have to be mindful of their limitations. We must be willing to question our assumptions, to consider alternative perspectives, and to recognize that our current understanding of the universe is incomplete. The history of science is replete with examples of paradigms being overturned, of radical new ideas replacing old, established ones. Each of these revolutions has expanded our understanding of the universe, revealing new layers of complexity and wonder. To continue this journey of discovery, we must remain open to the possibility that our current paradigms, however comfortable they may seem, may not hold all the answers. We must embrace the anomalies, for they are the seeds of scientific revolution. For centuries, the prevailing model of the universe was geocentric, placing the Earth at the center of all celestial motion. This Earth-centric view was not simply a matter of human egotism, though that undoubtedly played a role. It was an understanding born of observation, or at least what appeared to be observation in the pre-telescope era. After all, we don't feel the Earth move beneath our feet. We see the sun rise in the east, travel across the sky, and set in the west. The stars, too, seem to rotate around a fixed point above us. This geocentric model, with its apparent harmony between observation and intuition, formed the bedrock of astronomical thought for well over a millennium. It was a universe that seemed to make sense, a cosmos where humanity occupied a central and privileged position. The heavens, with their celestial dance of stars and planets, were seen as a divine tapestry, woven around the Earth, the stage upon which the human drama unfolded. This worldview, deeply intertwined with religious and philosophical beliefs, held a powerful sway over the minds of even the most brilliant thinkers of the age. To challenge the geocentric model was not merely to question a scientific theory, it was to challenge the very fabric of their reality, to question the place of humanity in the grand scheme of the cosmos. Yet, despite its enduring appeal, the geocentric model was not without its flaws. As astronomical observations became more precise, certain inconsistencies began to emerge, subtle hints that the celestial clockwork might not be as orderly as it appeared. These inconsistencies, these anomalies, would eventually sow the seeds of doubt, leading to a profound shift in our understanding of the universe. The first cracks in the geocentric edifice appeared not in the movements of the stars, which seemed to follow predictable circular paths around Earth, but in the wanderings of the planets. These celestial objects, unlike the stars, did not move across the sky in simple, predictable patterns. Instead, they seemed to wander, their paths sometimes looping back on themselves in a strange celestial dance that defied easy explanation. These peculiar movements, known as retrograde motion, were particularly perplexing to ancient astronomers. In a universe where the Earth was considered stationary, the planets were expected to move in perfect circles around our planet. Yet, observations revealed otherwise. Planets like Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn would occasionally appear to slow down in their eastward journey across the celestial sphere, come to a halt, reverse direction for a brief period, and then resume their eastward course. These retrograde motions posed a significant challenge to the geocentric model. How could these celestial bodies, if they were truly orbiting the Earth, exhibit such erratic behavior? The answer, according to the astronomers of the time, lay in the heavens themselves. These seemingly erratic movements, they argued, must be illusions, the result of the planets being embedded within unseen celestial spheres, each rotating at its own pace. These additional spheres, while invisible to the naked eye, were thought to carry the planets along in their orbits, creating the illusion of retrograde motion, as seen from Earth. This elaborate system of nested spheres, while ingenious in its attempt to preserve the geocentric model, was becoming increasingly cumbersome. Each new anomaly, each new discrepancy between observation and theory, required the addition of yet another sphere, another layer of complexity in an already intricate celestial machine. The universe, it seemed, was becoming uncomfortably cluttered. The culmination of these efforts came in the form of the Ptolemaic system, named after the Greco-Roman astronomer Claudius Ptolemy, who lived in the 2nd century AD. Ptolemy's model, a refinement of earlier geocentric theories, became the standard model of the universe for the next 14 centuries. To account for the observed planetary motions, including the troublesome retrograde loops, Ptolemy introduced a complex system of deferents and epicycles. Ptolemy's model, though complex, was a testament to the ingenuity of ancient astronomers in their efforts to fit observations into their Earth-centered worldview. However, the Ptolemaic system, for all its apparent success, was ultimately a band-aid solution. It was a system built on ad hoc adjustments that were not born naturally from the theory, but were forcibly applied from the outside, adding complexity upon complexity to an already flawed premise. The simplicity of the original geocentric idea had been lost, replaced by a cumbersome and unwieldy model that, while able to predict celestial events with some accuracy, lacked the explanatory power of a truly robust theory. The stage was set for a revolution, for a radical new idea that would sweep away the old geocentric paradigm and replace it with a simpler, more elegant, and ultimately more accurate model of the universe. That revolution, however, would have to wait for the arrival of a Polish astronomer named Nicolaus Copernicus, who dared to challenge centuries of astronomical dogma and place the sun, not Earth, at the center of the cosmos. In the 16th century, Copernicus set in motion a revolution that would forever alter our understanding of the universe. Copernicus, dissatisfied with the complexities and inconsistencies of the Ptolemaic system, proposed a radical alternative, the heliocentric model. In Copernicus's model, the Sun, not the Earth, occupied the central position in the cosmos, with the Earth demoted to the status of a planet orbiting the Sun alongside Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The seemingly simple shift in perspective had profound implications. It meant that Earth was no longer the center of the universe, no longer the focal point of creation. It meant that humanity, far from occupying a privileged position, was relegated to a small planet orbiting an unremarkable star in a vast and indifferent cosmos. This was a profound philosophical and theological challenge to the prevailing worldview, one that would not be easily accepted. Even though Copernicus's new heliocentric paradigm was simpler and more accurate than the geocentric model, it would not be adopted by astronomers until almost a century later, not least because it entailed relinquishing a cherished worldview that had put the Earth at the center of the universe. It wasn't until Galileo Galilei, with the observational evidence he provided with his newly invented telescope, that astronomers were finally moved to accept the new paradigm. This is when the Church began to take notice and reacted with hostility. Galileo's public defense of the Copernican system, seen as a direct challenge to the Church's authority, led to his infamous trial and condemnation in 1633. The story of the Copernican revolution is not simply a tale of scientific progress, of a new and better theory triumphing over an old and flawed one. It is also a story about the power of paradigms, about the reluctance to relinquish deeply held beliefs, even in the face of compelling evidence. The geocentric model, intertwined as it was with religious dogma and philosophical assumptions about humanity's place in the universe, had become more than just a scientific theory. It had become an integral part of the cultural fabric, a cornerstone of the prevailing worldview. To embrace the heliocentric model meant not only accepting a new scientific explanation for the motions of the heavens, but also confronting the unsettling implications of Earth's demotion from its central position. It meant acknowledging that humanity was not, after all, at the center of creation, but rather a small and insignificant part of a vast and indifferent cosmos. This was a profound philosophical and theological shift, one that many were simply not ready to make, even within the scientific community, where objectivity and a willingness to follow the evidence, wherever it may lead, are supposed to reign supreme. The Copernican model faced resistance. Scientists, like all humans, are creatures of their time, shaped by the prevailing cultural and intellectual currents. They are not immune to the comfort of deeply held beliefs that have stood the test of time, however flawed they may be. They may find it difficult to accept that a belief about reality, even a deeply held one, could be just that, a belief about reality, rather than reality itself. The Copernican revolution, therefore, was a shift in perspective that required not only compelling scientific evidence, but also a willingness to confront long-held beliefs, and to embrace a new and unsettling understanding of humanity's place in the universe. The Copernican revolution, while a seismic shift in our understanding of the cosmos, did not immediately usher in an era of scientific open-mindedness. Paradigms can be difficult to shake because emotional attachments and intellectual commitments can bind us to them and blind us to the distortions they impose upon our perception of reality. As science advanced, however, a new paradigm began to take hold, one that would exert a powerful influence on scientific thought for centuries to come. This was materialism, and it had its roots in the 17th century, with the philosophy of René Descartes, who famously divided the world into two distinct realms, res extensa, the realm of matter, and res cogitans, the realm of mind or spirit. This division, while seemingly innocuous, had profound implications for the development of science. It allowed scientists to study the material world without fear of persecution because the Church had already deemed matter to be merely inert dust, entirely devoid of spirit and divinity. The Bible represented God as somebody up there, aloof from physical reality, the maker, but not the substance of this universe from which he was distinct. This had the effect of stripping matter of its divine dimension, allowing scientists to study it in safety. But they were not safe to study spirit, which was solidly within the domain of the Church. Nor, by extension, could they study mind or consciousness, which the Church had deemed to be connected with the human soul or spirit, and thus off-limits to scientific scrutiny. Scientists were free to ask how, but not why. The deeper explanation for things was to be left to the Church on pain of death. This division worked well enough for 2 centuries, but the rise of materialism in the 19th century represented a decisive shift away from Cartesian dualism. Scientists, emboldened by their successes in explaining the physical world, were ready to abandon the spiritual half of Descartes' dualism altogether. From this point on, the sphere of spirit was no longer to be conceded to exist at all, leaving only the material sphere. In place of Descartes' material-spiritual dualism, there would be material monism, or simply materialism, where all things in the universe were made of matter and the four physical forces. This relieved the scientific community of the need to share their picture of reality with the church, but it came with a problem of its own because the sphere of spirit had also been the home of mind and consciousness. In the absence of a spiritual sphere, consciousness was left an ideological orphan, homeless and adrift, and either its very existence would have to be denied, as was done with soul and spirit, or it would have to be forced into the materialist camp through some sort of ad hoc adjustment. In the end, both of these things were accomplished. By relegating consciousness to the status of an epiphenomenon, scientists managed to shoehorn it into the materialist fold, while at the same time stripping it of any power by denying it a reality of its own. This attempt to reduce consciousness to mere matter, however, faced a significant challenge, the so-called hard problem of consciousness. How can a purely physical system governed by the laws of physics and chemistry give rise to subjective experience, to the feeling of what it is like to be alive, to experience the world in all its richness and complexity? This question has haunted philosophers and scientists for centuries and remains one of the most vexing problems in modern science. Materialists have responded to this challenge in various ways. Some have argued that consciousness is an illusion, a kind of cognitive trick that our brains play on us. Others have suggested that consciousness is simply a byproduct of brain activity, like the heat generated by a computer processor. These attempts to explain away consciousness, however, have been met with skepticism, even from within the materialist camp. The subjective feeling of free will, the undeniable sense that our thoughts and actions are not simply the deterministic outcome of physical processes, is difficult to reconcile with a materialist view of the world. Furthermore, the very act of doing science, of observing, reasoning, and formulating theories seems to require a conscious agent, a mind capable of grasping and manipulating abstract concepts. The materialist paradigm, despite its challenges, has exerted a profound influence on science and society. It has led to remarkable advances in our understanding of the physical world, from the subatomic realm to the vast expanse of the cosmos. However, it has also come at a price. By reducing all phenomena to matter and motion, materialism has stripped the universe of its inherent meaning and purpose. It has reduced life to a series of chemical reactions, a collection of atoms bouncing around in a meaningless void. This mechanistic view of the world has had a profound impact on various fields of study. In biology, for example, it has led to a reductionist approach to understanding life, focusing on the molecular and cellular levels at the expense of the organism as a whole. In psychology, it has given rise to behaviorism, which seeks to explain human behavior solely in terms of stimulus and response, ignoring the inner world of thoughts, feelings, and motivations. This materialist worldview has also had a profound impact on our ethical and moral values. If we are nothing more than complex machines, driven by our genes and our environment, then what does it mean to be human? What happens to concepts like free will, moral responsibility, and the inherent dignity of the human person? These are not merely philosophical questions. They are questions that have real-world implications, shaping our laws, our social policies, and our very understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe. At the heart of materialism lies the seemingly self-evident assumption of reality, often referred to as strong objectivity. This is the first of the 5 pillars that support materialism, and had its origin in Descartes' 17th century philosophy of dualism, wherein the world was divided into a sphere of matter and a sphere of mind or spirit. It posits that there exists a physical universe out there, independent of our minds, our perceptions, or even our very existence. The basic notion here is that the physical universe is objectively and empirically real. It really exists out there, independently of any observers, and is separate from the mind or consciousness. It exists whether anyone is looking or not, and would still exist even if there were no conscious beings anywhere in the universe. It does not depend on consciousness for its existence. The second tenet of materialism, locality, also known as local realism, further solidifies the materialist grip on reality. This principle asserts that objects can only influence each other through direct physical contact or through the exchange of known forces such as gravity or electromagnetism. In essence, it outlaws action at a distance, the idea that something happening here can instantaneously affect something happening over there without any physical intermediary. Imagine two billiard balls colliding on a pool table. The force of the impact transfers from one ball to the other, causing a change in their motion. This is a local interaction. Materialism argues that all interactions in the universe, from the smallest subatomic particles to the largest galaxies, are local in the most literal sense. Unmediated action at a distance, that is, action that is not assisted or mediated by one of the four physical forces, is strictly prohibited. If it were permitted, it might be seen as an opportunity to propose that spirits had some basis in reality and could cause things to occur, allowing the church to get its foot back in the door. Einstein famously referred to this as spooky action at a distance, and was the reason for his lifelong rejection of quantum theory, which, as we shall see, requires the existence of influences that are not local. Materialism embraces two additional tenets: causality and continuity. These principles, intertwined with the concepts of reality and locality, provide a framework for understanding the unfolding of events in the universe, a cosmic clockwork governed by immutable laws. Causality, simply put, is the principle that every effect must have a cause. A ball doesn't just spontaneously roll across a table, it's set in motion by a force, a push from a hand, a collision with another ball. This cause and effect relationship, materialists argue, underpins all phenomena in the universe. It's a one-way street, with the past inexorably shaping the present, and the present, in turn, giving rise to the future. Time flows in one direction only, and thus cause and effect sequences are absolutely fixed. This axiom is an essential requirement if determinism is to be asserted. In later videos, we'll look at findings from quantum physics, neuroscience, and parapsychology that demonstrate that influences can and do travel backwards in time. Continuity, on the other hand, posits that change in the universe happens smoothly, without any abrupt jumps or discontinuities. Imagine a film reel, each frame seamlessly transitioning to the next, creating the illusion of motion. Materialism argues that reality operates in a similar fashion, with events unfolding in a continuous and predictable manner. This principle of continuity reinforces the idea of a universe governed by laws, a cosmos where change is not random or chaotic, but rather the inevitable outcome of a chain of events stretching back to the beginning of time. These tenets, causality and continuity, while seemingly intuitive and consistent with our everyday experience, face significant challenges when confronted with the strange and counterintuitive world of quantum mechanics. The quantum realm, with its fuzzy particles, probabilistic outcomes, and apparent disregard for the usual rules of cause and effect, throws a wrench into the materialist machinery, forcing us to reconsider the very nature of reality and the limits of our understanding. The fifth and final pillar of materialism is determinism, and it is perhaps the most unsettling, at least from a human perspective. It proposes that every event in the universe, from the grand cosmic dance of galaxies to the intricate firings of neurons in our brains, is predetermined by the initial conditions of the universe and the immutable laws of physics. There are no random events, no true spontaneity, only the inexorable unfolding of a cosmic script written in the language of mathematics and physics. Imagine a vast cosmic billiard table, where each ball is set in motion at the beginning of time. Each collision, each movement, every change in direction is predetermined by the initial conditions, suggesting that if we could know the exact state of every particle at any point in time, we could predict with absolute certainty what would happen next. But here's where things get tricky. If determinism is true, then the concept of free will becomes problematic. If every thought, every decision, every action is simply the inevitable outcome of physical processes in our brains, then the notion of genuine choice, of freely willing one action over another, becomes an illusion. We become mere puppets, dancing to the tune of our neurochemistry, our actions predetermined by the complex interplay of genes and environment. After all, if every event is predetermined by the state of the universe before it, then even our thoughts, choices, and actions are all just part of the cosmic domino effect. This would imply that the belief in free will is nothing more than an illusion. You may think you are acting freely, spontaneously, and unpredictably in deciding to smash a plate in a moment of anger, but in fact, if determinism is correct, every event leading up to your temper tantrum was utterly predetermined. Even your anger was predetermined, since, the thinking goes, your emotions were caused by the underlying neural activity going on in your brain, which was itself caused by events at the atomic and subatomic levels. In this billiard ball model of the universe, everything must follow the course established once and for all at the beginning of time. If it were possible for a consciousness to act with true freedom, then the idea of an established course would be false, and the whole edifice of materialism would come crashing down. This deterministic perspective is a bitter pill to swallow. It undermines our sense of moral responsibility, our belief that we are the authors of our own destiny. If we're not truly free to choose, then how can we be held accountable for our actions? Can we praise the hero or condemn the villain if their choices were not truly their own? These are not merely philosophical musings, they cut to the core of our legal systems, our social structures, and our very understanding of what it means to be human. If materialism is correct and determinism holds sway, then we must grapple with the unsettling implications for our notions of justice, morality, and the meaning of life itself. Now, this leads us to a related concept, reductionism. In essence, reductionism is determinism flipped on its head. In the materialist framework, this translates to reducing all phenomena, including consciousness, to the interactions of fundamental particles jostling about in space. But this, too, is fraught with challenges. For how does matter give rise to consciousness? It is utterly inexplicable in terms of physical processes, and is called the hard problem for that reason. All of this means that under materialism, consciousness has to be causally isolated from the rest of the universe. It cannot be conceded to cause anything to occur. This is an ad hoc adjustment, but a necessary one if spooky action at a distance is to be avoided. Consciousness cannot be allowed to have any influence on matter, except perhaps on the matter of its own brain, with which it is considered identical. If consciousness did have any influence on matter, then the previous assumptions would be invalidated. Under materialism, therefore, consciousness had to be deemed an epiphenomenon of matter. It became essentially an illusion, though an illusion to whom is never discussed. Causation runs in one way only, from matter to consciousness, but as we've seen, this puts materialists in the uncomfortable position of having to assert that free will, even their own free will, is an illusion, which means that they must declare that they had no choice, literally, but to believe in materialism, which means further that they did not arrive at materialism through rational thought, but by deterministic processes. They simply couldn't help it. And this in turn renders the belief in materialism irrational by definition. Such are the pitfalls of ad hoc explanations. The problem of free will, like the Ptolemaics equance and deference, falls away if we switch to a new paradigm and assume instead that consciousness exists independently of matter, as the evidence suggests. But because the belief in materialism was not arrived at through reason, it resists being dislodged by reason. It does not yield to reasoned argument because it is faith-based and serves another purpose, to counter the possibility of a realm of mind or spirit. Consciousness and free will were sacrificed in the war against the church, and we begin to see the outline of the emotional commitment that attaches to materialism. The implications of determinism extend beyond the philosophical and into the moral realm. For materialists cannot choose to do good or evil precisely because they cannot freely choose, period. If we have no real free will, then can we truly be held accountable for our actions? Can we distinguish between good and evil? The deterministic view would argue that morality is irrelevant, as we are simply following the paths set out for us by the laws of physics. Furthermore, if determinism holds true, then concepts like purpose and meaning become nonsensical, as they are mental constructs, not physical realities. Unfortunately, this way of thinking has spilled over into all fields of science, leading to a mechanistic view of life itself. Its reflection can be seen in biology, for example, where scientists can perform vivisection on living creatures without a qualm and convince themselves that they do not see any purpose in the behavior of animals, only the deterministic and robotic movements of biological automatons. A mother bird feeding worms to her young is not acting purposefully to nurture her chick, but is mindlessly responding, machine-like, to the dictates of her genes. In that case, of course, consciousness would not even be required. But because of its implications for humans, this is, for materialists, a touchy subject. The 5 tenets of materialism form a comprehensive and internally consistent worldview, but come at the cost of consciousness and free will. It's crucial to remember that these axioms are not scientific facts, proven through experimentation and observation, but metaphysical postulates, philosophical assumptions about the nature of reality that underpin the materialist paradigm. These assumptions, while useful in guiding scientific inquiry along certain lines, can also act as a distorting lens, shaping our perceptions and limiting our understanding of the universe. Just as the geocentric model, with its Earth-centered bias, blinded astronomers to the true nature of the cosmos for centuries, so too can the materialist paradigm, with its matter-first approach, obscure alternative perspectives, and hinder our exploration of the unknown. The history of science is a testament to the power of paradigms to both illuminate and obscure. While paradigms provide a framework for understanding the world, they can also become ideological straitjackets, limiting our imagination and hindering our ability to see beyond the confines of our current understanding. The materialist paradigm, despite its successes, is not immune to this tendency. By clinging too tightly to its metaphysical assumptions, by dismissing anomalies that challenge its core tenets, materialism has become a dogma, a belief system rather than a scientific framework open to revision and refinement in light of new evidence. Materialism, with its emphasis on the physical world, has undoubtedly increased our understanding of the cosmos. But as we've explored throughout this video, it is not without its limitations. Its 5 central tenets rest on metaphysical assumptions about the nature of reality. Assumptions that, while useful for some purposes, are not immune to questioning. In fact, it is precisely by challenging these assumptions, by pushing the boundaries of our current understanding, that science truly progresses. The history of science is replete with examples of paradigms being overturned, of cherished beliefs being shattered in the face of new evidence and more comprehensive theories. The Copernican revolution, which dethroned the Earth from its privileged position at the center of the universe, stands as a powerful reminder of the transient nature of scientific truth. Materialism, for all its successes, is not exempt from this process of revision and refinement. The anomalies we've discussed are from the quantum weirdness that defies our classical intuitions to the persistent mysteries of consciousness, serve as cracks in the materialist edifice, hints that there may be more to reality than meets the materialist eye. It is through these cracks that we can glimpse the potential for a more expansive and nuanced understanding of the universe. The pursuit of science is, at its heart, a journey into the unknown. It is a quest driven by curiosity, a thirst for knowledge, a desire to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos and our place within it. Materialism has provided a valuable framework for this exploration, but it is not the only path, nor is it the final destination. As we stand at the frontiers of scientific inquiry, confronted with mysteries that challenge our current paradigms, we must be willing to embrace the unknown, to venture beyond the familiar shores of materialism and explore new intellectual territories. This requires a certain humility, an acknowledgement that our current understanding of the universe is incomplete, that there are forces at play, dimensions of reality that we are only beginning to glimpse. This is not a call to abandon the scientific method, to retreat into mysticism or superstition. On the contrary, it is a call to embrace the true spirit of scientific inquiry, a spirit characterized by open-mindedness, a willingness to question assumptions, and a relentless pursuit of truth wherever it may lead. The anomalies we face, the mysteries that challenge our current understanding, from psi phenomena to the near-death experience, should not be viewed as threats, but as opportunities. They are invitations to explore new frontiers of knowledge, to expand our understanding of the universe and our place within it. By confronting these challenges head-on, by refusing to shy away from the unknown, we can push the boundaries of science, opening up new vistas of understanding and ushering in a new era of scientific discovery. The universe is a vast and mysterious place, full of wonders yet to be revealed. By embracing the unknown, by challenging our cherished beliefs, and by remaining open to alternative perspectives, we can continue the journey of scientific exploration, unraveling the secrets of the cosmos and deepening our understanding of ourselves and our place in the grand tapestry of existence. The adventure has just begun.